On this journey, you will have trials, but be of good cheer. The thing that is in you, the power that is in you, overcomes the world. Anytime any hero in any story ever says that they're going to go do something great, it doesn't just happen immediately. Think about it. It's followed by a series of events which could not have been predicted. And in the process of it, any good movie, any good story you've ever seen, in the process of what happens to the hero as an effect or as something that was caused by them stepping into action, obstacles, roadblocks, challenges all appear in their story. And what we get to witness is we get to witness who they are. And that's what makes us attracted to them. That's what makes us cheer for them. That's what helps us to identify with the hero. And you, my friend, are no different. Neither am I. We're all living the hero's journey. And I've got to tell you this. If you've chosen something great, and I know you have, you are going to hit obstacles, roadblocks, and challenges. We're going to talk about today how to view them, what to do about them, and some simple techniques that will help you to remove these things along with some of the ones that are self-created. Some self-sabotage might be happening in your world. We're going to talk about removing real obstacles and self-created roadblocks, obstacles, and challenges. So let's just even look at, first off, what is going on, right? You made a decision, you stepped into something, and then as soon as you stepped into it, something presents itself, right? Maybe you don't have the money to do what you said you would do. You don't have the energy, you get a flat tire, whatever. These things happen, and I want you to understand that obstacles test your being. Obstacles test your being, and they show you who you are or who you're not. And ultimately, if you want whatever it is that you get to last, then, my friend, you have to become a being and not a doing. You're a human being, not a human doing. You're someone that is successful, not someone who has had success, right? You're someone who is healthy, not someone who lost weight. There's a difference. The one thing done because you had to do it doesn't last, but the thing that is done because it's who you are, well, the fruit of that remains. And that is what we're interested in. So really, truthfully, obstacles are not only a part of your journey, they are a necessary part of your journey. Obstacles define who you are. They tell you, they inform you later on in life. And by the way, they inform the world. I love what Gandhi said. He said, "My life is my teaching." And I want you to help create and stir up within you the fact that your life is your teaching and your life is a song, and how you handle what's in front of you actually shows what you believe, and what you demonstrate in points of conflict really show the core of who you are much more than what you decided when everything was easy, right? Doing things out of convenience, right? It's so easy to say something, but to do it, right? And to keep doing it. I believe roadblocks test us to see if we're going to keep going to where we said we were going to go. I think roadblocks, truthfully, almost are put there so that we can show that we're worthy of what we're driving towards. Imagine you were going towards a destination, and as you were going, you get to the highway that you were about to get on, and it gives you a detour sign. And so you're like, okay, well, guess I can't get on the interstate here. I'll follow the detour sign. And you get to that detour sign, and there's a roadblock there. What do you do? Well, if you're not too attached to the place that you are going, probably just turn around and wait for a more convenient time. And isn't that what we do oftentimes in life? We're not really that attached to our destination. And so when a trial comes, when a roadblock comes, we choke it up. We die. We tell ourselves later, but really it's later ends up becoming never. And that's not always bad, right? It's not always bad that we end up having a priority that changes. It's okay. And when we're tested and we turn back, it just shows that we really didn't really care that much. We weren't that invested with what we were doing. So, roadblocks, trials, challenges, they actually are there to test your connection to your desire. Now, when we see roadblocks, trials, tribulations, difficulties, challenges, we really have to ask ourselves I think in the beginning, like how do I handle this thing, right? We're asking ourselves, how do I handle it? I've got to know, and I've got to ask you to ask yourself, is this real, or is it just a feeling? Is it perceived? Is it imagined? A lot of times, my friends, we are actually keeping ourselves in a container that we are used to. In The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks calls that the upper limiters. It's your outer boundary. It's as far as you can imagine going. And the truth is that when we take risks and chances and go beyond that boundary, we're not sure what's out there. We're not guaranteed victory or success. We're just not. And so what we'll do is we'll talk ourselves out of something and we'll say, oh, that's dangerous. Oh, that's a roadblock. And a lot of times these things are just, it's something that's self-generated and self-created so that we don't have to require ourselves to step fully into what we said we wanted. We get an excuse, right? We get a pass. We get I'll get to it later. So look and be aware of, am I creating this? Is this imagined or is it real? Maybe it is real. So if you're in front of a roadblock right now, or as you get in front of a roadblock, as these things inevitably appear before you, you really now, the choice is, how do you frame it? How you frame your challenges, your roadblocks, your obstacles is everything. We've already talked about the idea that obstacles actually show you your character. It actually shows the world the character. It actually allows us to live in a way that shows that this is what I believe. Well, if we know that something is in front of us and we know that it's real, now it's up to us to frame it, and to frame it in a way that is congruent with belief that we can grow, that we can overcome, that it can be solved. And that's actually the number one thing. There is something that they have, and it's really a sad thing. When you go to impoverished places throughout America, one of the things that's a consistent psychological condition, you can actually see areas, right, that look depressed. It feels depressing to go through there. Oftentimes, people in those scenarios have what's called learned helplessness, meaning the problems that come against me, I'm not big enough for. Therefore, I'm going to either blame someone, I'm just going to tell myself how sucky I am, or in some other way, I'm going to create a scenario where someone else or something else has to be the answer. My friend, I'm not saying that doesn't work, and I'm not saying that there are systems that don't need to be changed, but I would say to you, in your journey, since you have declared where you want to be, your obstacles are your obstacles, therefore you have to be the one that owns them. And so taking responsibility is one part of it. I would say starting from the place that whatever it is can be solved. I've heard stories of amazing fathers. I don't know that I was that amazing father. I tried to be, where it's like When my kids bring me something that's broken, like the right thing to say is, son, there's nothing broken that can't be fixed. So that way your son's not afraid, as he grows up that, oh no, I broke it forever. A lot of times our frame of reference starts when we're children. And one of those, that whole spilled milk, right? That idea that a parent or someone else gets mad at you when you cause a problem and it just feels like crap. And what we learn is that problems are bad. It feels bad. It's going to suck fixing it. And we have that. And so I would say we got to get rid of that. We've got to get rid of that old frame of reference. And I've got to tell you, the very first thing is we've got to believe that it can be solved. Okay? It's that this is a belief level thing. Before you even ever try something, you got to believe it can be solved. Next, I would say believing that you have the resources available within reach to solve it. I don't know how I'm going to solve it. I don't know what my answers are, but I believe that with my talent, with my time, with my money, with my energy, with my relationships, there's some way, if this is a true obstacle, there's some way that I can solve it. So starting from that framework, that belief that all problems can be solved is key. There's just no way around it. You've got to be the answer to this. Now, understand, I don't want to put a period at the end of that sentence because you are the answer, but that doesn't mean you have to be the one solving it. You may be able to engage other people or other companies or whatever, right, to solve your problem. I realized that in my attempts to get into a place of physical health, somehow I just haven't owned that identity. And so one of the things that I will be doing is reaching out to a coach and re-engaging that coach to help me. So I need that help. So it's good to get help, but I'm the one that is owning that solution. Okay? You need to do the same. So let's talk about some helpful ways to frame an obstacle, a challenge, a roadblock. And of the three, those are all fine and okay ways to call it. Even what you call this is important. And I believe instead of saying that something is a problem, that's such a negative feeling and an unsolvable feeling, instead of a problem, what if you thought of what was in front of you as a puzzle? Right? Problems sucked, at least in my world. Puzzles, that's something that it might be difficult, but you'll find the piece eventually. Something will click into place. I really like being able to look at things as puzzles, not problems. Another great word I think that you can frame it as a challenge. And not like a challenge like, I'm challenged, but more like, I'm challenged. I'm going to rise up and meet this challenge, right? Like an obstacle course or, now you have to do it in 1 minute instead of 3 minutes. So like that's a challenge, but it still can be done. Another way that I like to frame this, and this is just the way that helps me. I love the idea that I don't believe that I'm solving my problems on my own. I do believe I have the answers either within me or within reach. I can put my hands on it. But I also love the idea of being at play with the outside world and resources around me. And I see it as an Easter egg hunt. That this is how I actually would find my keys before we would have the air tag that we have on there now. I mean, that's just a lot quicker. But here's how I would personally find my keys. I treat it like an Easter egg hunt, and I trust the spirit within me. And this may be a new concept to you. I went, background-wise, went to a church. We believe that, hey, God still speaks to people, and why not, right? So that was something that I tried to tune into at various times, and successful, not successful. It's a learned thing. But one of the things that I learned to do was to find lost things. And so if I were to lose my keys, I just get into the place to where first it doesn't feel like a problem. It's a puzzle. It's solvable. They're somewhere, and I can figure it out. I can find that answer. And so I would start with that mindset and kind of get rested and peaceful and not like all in a bunch. And then I would say, okay, Lord, show me those keys. Where are they at? And I would just breathe in and breathe out. And whatever the first place I saw in my mind, I would go there without requiring them to be there. So I would go to that place and I would say, I don't know why I saw a refrigerator in my mind, but that's where I went. They're not there. They're not next to the fridge, but okay, where to next? And then from the place of the refrigerator, it's like, okay, well, go over to the couch. Okay, I see the couch. So I go to the couch and they're still not there, and I'm still not losing spirit. It's like, okay, well, what do I see now? And oh, you know what? Now I imagine the bathroom. And so I walk into the bathroom and there they are. And that may not be your cup of tea, but I'm just telling you that helps me so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed or like I'm in front of something that's insurmountable. I think the main thing is, my friend, is that you are seeing problems as completely solvable and as just as blips, blips of time. One thing that I actually do believe is very helpful is to frame who it is that you want to be in this life. Because when we're looking at obstacles, again, those are the things that define us. My question is when you're faced with an obstacle, what is it that you would like to say that you were? So I'm going to ask you to actually fast forward for this in life. So you can either go to one of two places. Either you are your future self, like the you that's in the place of power and glory and all of the things that you love and like, right? Either you're that person or you're on your deathbed. Some people can't go there, but I really love to frame my mind there, just because I know that one of the, I forget the name of the person who was with the dead and the dying, or those who were on their way to dying and found their top regrets. And one of those was not living a life that was true to what they believed, not being sincere with their approach to life. They did what others wanted them to do. And so with me, I think of myself at that place of, I'm about done here. And when I'm about done, what are the things that would make me proud? When I was faced with a difficulty, when I was faced with a roadblock, when I was faced with an obstacle, what would have made me proud? And those are being questions. Again, right? We're back to the being. Well, for me, there are a few core values that even if I'm wrong, as long as I'm sticking to these values, I will be proud. Okay? And a few of those, and they're just rolling off the top of my mind, is the first is courageous. I am proud that I was courageous. Okay. Another one is generous. I'm proud that whenever I do things, I'm generous. And even if it doesn't work out, I'm proud. Or love. I did this from love or for love. And when I do things in that way, it makes me proud. And when I'm at that place on the deathbed, it's like, this was done that way. However it worked out, I'm okay. There is a quote that probably pops up on your Instagram at least every week if you have Instagram or anything that has motivational quotes. And people ask, hey, if you knew you couldn't fail, what is it that you would do? And I'm going to flip that and go the opposite way. And I'm going to ask you right now, even if you felt like you might fail, what would you do anyway? And that's how I like to look at this. Man, I would choose love, I hope. I would choose courage, I hope. I would choose generosity, I hope. So that's what I want you to think of. Go to that person on the deathbed, and that person is going to say, I wish I did this, or I'm proud I did this. Okay? The other one is you can go into the ideal you, like this person who is in the place of all of the great places you're going to in life, and you show up there, and the question is what was pivotal in your life that you're like, oh, I'm so glad that I did this instead of that. I'm so glad that I chose to be this. That being question. I'll share a couple of for instances here, and then I want to we'll get you to a place where you can create those pictures for yourself and really put those deep inside. One example that comes to my mind very easily is in 2010. I had a wonderful idea, and that wonderful idea was something that was helping me to sell more than anyone else around me. It was during a recession, and while I was doing that, I just felt like, you know what? I felt like this needs to be my business. I need to leave the company I'm at and go into business. And we went, my wife and I calculate this different, but I believe we went about 13 months without actually earning an income. So I left what I was doing, started an LLC, go out there, and I try to do this business. And what ends up happening is I have no income. And my family, my wife and my 8 children, I keep going so long in this negative situation that we lost everything, and we had to move back into the house with my mom and my dad. And it was it was by all accounts not a success, right? When I look back at that time, I'm still very proud. I'm not like excited, like, oh, I could have done this a little different or that a little different, but I love that I was doing things out of courage. I love that. Here's I hope you're feeling what I'm saying, right? Being able to embrace an identity. This is what we get to do. And that's what overcomes roadblocks. That actually informs you on what to do. Let me give you the opposite. So I believe that the 3 things I don't ever wish to do anything from, I feel like that every time I've ever done anything here, it always leads to just horrible things in my life or other people's life, bad consequences. And I've seen it happen for other people as well. So it's like, and I believe that these things are not from God. They're not from our Creator. And they are fear, shame, and condemnation. So whatever I do, I never want to take action out of fear, shame, or condemnation. And in any situation, whenever I'm seeing a roadblock, remember I said earlier, sometimes they're real and sometimes they're perceived. Well, when I see that, my question is fear, is shame, or is condemnation, are any of those a part of what I'm looking at and how I'm processing this right now? And if so, let's get that out. Now, how do I see it? Now, how does it look different? Sometimes it's just the straight up numbers of it, and sometimes it is like, well, right, I'm not attached emotionally to it, so I don't have to process these things as like calamity that says I'm not enough, or I'm going to die, or we're going to lose, or the horrible feeling that I'm the worst in the world and I'm just a mess up, and right, those things will not lead you to a good decision. And the story that comes to my mind the easiest on that is we were looking at leaving one company. I was being recruited by another, and when I was being recruited by a fairly attractive woman, and it was just one of those things to where I felt like it was heck yes. Chris, and I'm probably sharing her story a little bit more than I should, but it's like she felt threatened a little bit. There was a little bit of a threat there, and for her, she's like, no, this is a no. And as we started talking and looking at the situation, it wasn't an obstacle; it was a moment of pause. But and truthfully, there was this upward limiter there, this fear of losing. Right, these stories that play in our mind, this fear of losing was being a determiner in what we were about to choose. And so we were able to strip it away and say, is there fear? Is there shame? Is there condemnation? Is there any of these things here? Yes. Okay, well, let's shine the light on that and get that out. Now let's look at the situation without those. And if we're deciding out of love and out of joy and out of peace Does this make sense? Our answer there was yes. And so being able to know which of those you want to be connected with, and which of those is probably trying to make your decision for you right now is important. So having that clear definition of those core values that you just want to exhibit, even in the midst of difficulty, I think is powerful and informative, and it will tell you at the moment you need that help. 3 things I'm going to tell you that in terms of like, hey, if this roadblock is for real, try these 3 things. Okay, the very first one is, I would say, fast action. So you don't have to necessarily solve all of it all at once, but I would ask you to take fast action. What is something immediate that you can do that pushes against it in a way that shows whatever those qualities are that you want, right? For me, it's courage or generosity or love. What are those things that I could do that actually exhibit that boom fast before I can even talk myself out of it? So it's 1 minute, right? 1 minute of courage. 1 minute of courage. Maybe that has to do with, meeting a new person, right? 1 minute of courage could change everything. It did with me. It's how I met the love of my life. 1 minute of courage. The rest you'll figure out along the way. The next one is I would say, if you're trying to puzzle with something and the answer is just not coming, take the Albert Einstein method. He just believed that he wouldn't always figure those things out. He did a few things that were very important. He believed in rest. Actually, I found out recently that Leonardo da Vinci also just was obsessed with having proper rest. So you'll see pictures of Einstein with a violin. He would play music that didn't seem to be related to the problem, trusting that his subconscious and other parts of his brain would figure it out for him. So he was able to relax in the process. So I would say finding a way to relax. You may have meditation, you may have breathing, those might be good, but sometimes it's literal, like take a nap, get rest at night, those type of things. Sometimes it's you set the problem down and trust that you will figure it out, that you actually are enough to figure it out. And so when your eyes start getting crossed, take a rest. And finally, I would say is having that determined I am, or I will be, right? And determine your being. I am courageous. I am generous. I am full of love. I'm the most joyful person I know. Have something that you've decided that you are going to live by, and you can literally, like we talk about that with iDig, right? We can set our compass by it, because from your identity, you are enough, right? Towards your desire, we can create what we want from what we already have. We take inspired action using our gifts. And one piece drops in, and then another, and then another. Because your problems are really puzzles. And your obstacles and roadblocks are really allowing you to define who it is that you are. So my challenge is, again, it's taking that 1 minute of courage, that fast action. Find something that you can do every day that's pushing against that fear. The other one is getting rest when you notice you're up against a roadblock. And then finally, determining your chosen I am statements. And during your moments of before you wake up, or not, after you wake up, before you go to bed, and maybe just in moments in your day when you're breathing and meditating, be intentional to really just embrace and feel like you really are courageous, like you really are generous, like you really are loving and joyful, and don't allow shame, fear, and condemnation to be those things that determine what you will do. You have the answer, my friend. See you on the journey.